You're just going to live with a slight knot there. Well, right beside it, this past July, there was like a grate popping up, and I didn't think much about it. I was like, well, that's just part of the hematoma moving around or something. But I asked them while I was in the hospital in July, I said, what about this right here? It's just a little bitty bump. And they said, well, he ran the ultrasound over it. The technician did. He said, well, it's got its own blood supply. I do know that. He said, just keep an eye on it. So about 2 weeks later, now it's the size of a golf ball.
This segment of DoD TV is brought to you by Leupold, American to the core.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild Podcast. This is episode number 253. We are powered by DeerCast.
You're Tim Chelsvik.
You are Matt Drury. Always have been.
Always will be, unfortunately.
There's no getting away from you.
The one jury that just can't kill a booner.
Dude, someday. You keep wishing on that rainbow.
I got one.
Yeah.
I'll take it. It's maybe the last one.
You know, you could always just name a buck booner, whether he's big enough or not.
And then you say you kill the booner.
Uh-huh.
Maybe this year we should both name a deer booner.
I'm going to do that, and I got one that I've already named John Doe. Oh, he's the John Doe buck.
Nice. I got one that's called General Sausage. My son named him.
That's disturbing to me.
It was the first deer we got a picture of, a first buck we got a picture of on the new farm I just purchased. Sure. And I showed the kids. I'm like, all right, Cam, you're going to name it. He's like, General Sausage. I'm like, okay.
Crap. It was like that boat that they crowdsourced the name. They ended up naming the ship Bodie McBoatface. So well, before we get too far into our shenanigans, we have an awesome guest. We got Travis TBone Turner,
Mr. Bone Collector.
Yeah, so he's gonna talk about the most difficult thing he's experienced in his life to date, and that is joining our Zoom meeting today for the podcast.
And then if there's time after that, we'll talk about the other plight that he's going through. We had an interesting, basically 40 minutes to try to get rolling, but we got there.
Yeah. So we're going to bring T-Bone on, then we'll get to the shout outs and all that great stuff later on in the show. So right. T-Bone, man, thanks so much for joining us. We're so glad to see you.
Oh, absolutely, guys. My pleasure. It's always a good time when we get to chat and catch up, and thanks for having me on. Really.
Yeah.
So, as anybody that's following along on social media has probably seen or heard or read, you've had a recent bout with cancer, very serious, rare form of cancer. You did Michael's podcast, Bone to Pick, and kind of went through it. And you also had a very heartfelt message on Instagram and social media to any of you, the followers out there that wanted to, follow along on this journey. You've been very open about it. So I know Mark Drury had FaceTimed you the other day and said what great spirits you were in, and said, hey, it'd be great to catch up with you on the podcast and see how everything's going post-surgery. So I'd say kind of give us a backstory for those that are living under a rock and may not have heard kind of what happened and what's led to your recent surgery.
Yeah, so back in the summertime, I had gotten bit by a tick and it become infected on my left leg. This was in July. Mm-hmm. So it was more than what we could. The antibiotics, in pill form was not able to knock it out. So I went to the hospital emergency room, and, I'm really good friends with my primary care doctor. I mean, like, he's a hunter. We're good friends. And he said, yeah, let's just go ahead and get you in there and we'll get you on some, IV antibiotics, and we'll knock this thing out, because it had become infected. It bit me on the side of the heel on my left leg. Well, while I was in there, naturally, if you got anything going on with your legs and stuff, it's just protocol that they're going to do ultrasounds on your legs to make sure that there's no blood clots, no things that, it's just checking off the things that are going on with you. Well, my right leg on my shin, I've had a hematoma there for probably 10 or 11, 12 years. I fell while I was hunting in Wisconsin a long time ago, and I fell not out of a tree. I just fell in, it was like 2 foot of snow, and a Georgia boy can't even walk in 1 inch of snow, much less 2 foot of snow. And I fell over on a stump on my shin. It didn't break the skin, but it just like knocked it real hard, like getting hit with a baseball bat. So anyway, I came back, had it all checked out, and they said, look, man, it's just a hematoma. It's not a blood clot. You're just going to have to deal with it. If anybody's ever got whacked real good and a big bad bruise, they know what I'm talking about. Well, they said it may last 5-10 years. It may be there for a long time, but it's, not anything serious. But you're just going to have to live with a slight knot there. Well, right beside it, this past July, there was like a grate popping up, and I didn't think much about it. I was like, well, that's just part of the hematoma moving around or something. But I asked them while I was in the hospital in July, I said, what about this right here? It's just a little bitty bump. And they said, well, he ran the ultrasound over it. The technician did. He said, well, it's got its own blood supply. I do know that. He said, just keep an eye on it. So about 2 weeks later, now it's the size of a golf ball. So I go to my primary care, and I'm all taken care of. My left leg's good with the infection from the tick. And I said, look at this. And he goes, probably nothing, but we need to keep an eye on it. So another week or two, and it's done growed some more. And he goes, man, we need to get you to a specialist, figure out what's going on. I'm thinking this is just a redneck version of pimple popper, probably some type of cyst, a tissue. We're going to go in there and lance it, pop it out, like a old men get boils on their butt. That's what we figured it's going to be, is like just something on your shin. Mm-hmm. Well, my other doctor friend, and actually he's really good friends with Wade, the guy that takes, it's Dr. Ralston Majors. And you may have met him, Matt, but anyway, him and Wade, and he was roommates with Dustin Lynch in college. So anyway, him and Wade are good friends and text all the time. And, he's a doctor down here. So, and he's a hunter, and I got referred to him because he's a surgeon. Well, anyway, he looked at it and said, he goes, yeah, we need to, probably nothing to it, but we need to do a biopsy. So by the time we got ready to do the biopsy, we were lining that up because we did an MRI, we did scans on it, and they said, well, it's larger than what we can see. So it's it's inside your leg quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Said, but we got to do a biopsy. By the time we got to the biopsy part, it had already busted through my skin. So these things were growing at an alarming rate. So it's about the size of a tennis ball. Jeez. And it's busted through the skin and bleeding often. And we did the biopsy in his office. Dr. Major said, no, we don't need to wait anymore. I said, no, let's find out what this thing is. Mm-hmm. And sent it off, and it took, 8 days to find out what it was. And it came back, it was fibrosarcoma, which fibrosarcoma is a cancer that is extremely rare. Usually only happens with guys over 50. And there's about 15,000 cases per year. And it's usually in your shoulder, like your neck, or below your knees. So then he referred me to Emory, the Winship Cancer Center, which is in Atlanta, which is, that they're well versed with sarcoma. We looked at MD Anderson, which is out in Houston, and we also looked at the Mayo Clinic, which they're all pretty well versed with sarcoma. But a lot of these cancer treatment centers and stuff are good with cancer, but as we all know, we all affected by cancer in some form or fashion, that it's, there's certain ones that do better than others. So we felt pretty good having one here in Atlanta. Plus it's close, easy to travel to. And I felt good about it because it was a team thing, not just me and one doctor and that person deciding. These people meet every week. There's a team of, 5 to 10 doctors that are all putting their input and their specialty in there and deciding what to do. So it took them before we could act on it. I'm thinking like, okay, it's sarcoma. Let's just dig that thing out of there. Let's go ahead and cut it out and get on the recovery. This is in October, but they said, no, we can't do that. We don't need to react. We need to think and come up with a good game plan. So they sent it off. There's about 60 different types of fibrosarcoma. They wanted to narrow it down they wanted to try to find out which one it was, because if they do some type of chemo treatment for the leg or most sarcomas, once they move, they go to your lungs. And after doing a CAT scan, I did have a nodule on my lung, or I still do actually. They don't think it's cancer, but nonetheless, because it was a 9 millimeter size, they had to be cautious of it. Mm-hmm. So they said, well, before we go to operating on your leg, whether we try to remove the tumor or amputate or anything like that, we got to make sure the rest of your body's cleared, because there's no need in working on your leg if you're eat up with cancer in your insides. So we're going to do the chemo treatment, and it was real aggressive. I didn't realize till after the fact how aggressive it was, but they put me on 2 types of chemo, and they would admit me into the hospital. So I'd go to the hospital for 5 days and get chemo pumped into me nonstop for 5 days, whereas most people go to an infusion center, they get it for 2 or 3 hours, and then they go straight home. They never stay in the night. But I mean, I'm not saying these things for sympathy or anything like that. I'm just letting folks know what was going on. They basically was taking me to death's door, killing all the cells in your body, and then reviving me back after the fact. So we did that several times, but the whole time this thing is growing like crazy. Now, by the end of, we did our brotherhood bash, and I went to it. I really shouldn't have. And, I knew I had cancer, and there was 2 or 3 people knew throughout the month of October, but like Michael, Nick, I never let them know until we did our brotherhood bash, and I went to it, and, I'm having to change dressing like 3 times a day. It's oozing, and it's just nasty. I mean, it's 3 portobello mushrooms, this big, size of softballs. And it got to the point, that was about the last time I could wear jeans. Jeans wouldn't even go over it. I was having to start to wear sweatpants. We're still fighting it, but nonetheless, it was troublesome. So I finally told, at this point in time, I'm a little concerned for sure. I just not knowing what's going on. So I'm like, how do we, I just don't want folks finding out and then rumors going crazy. So we kept it to our core friends, less than 20 people, less than, family members. And, just told them, let's just, not that we don't want people to know. It's just now's not the time. Let's fight this and get a little better grasp on it. So that's what we did. We went all the way through to the end of the year, and knowing that amputation was going to have to be where it was. But the chemo, the chemo, that was rough, man. Anybody going through chemo, gosh, it's rough. I mean, I don't care about the losing the hair or nothing like that. It's just, it just beats you down. I mean, you feel like to take this from Michael's vocabulary, you feel like a cat turd rolled in cracker crumb for nonstop.
I'm sure during that period, the support you're getting from your wife and your son and the guys, that core group of 20 people, I'm sure, the support, it's great. But at the end of the day, nobody can fight the fight but you, and your body is the one that has to take all the punishment. And that's, I'm sure, can feel pretty lonely in that regard, because you're going through something where basically, chemo, they're killing you, and it's a very, very tough thing to go through. I can only imagine.
Yeah. And, I had great spirits about it, and it wasn't like I was down in the dumps all fall long or anything like that. I had good spirits about it. And, the doctors were real reassuring. My wife was absolutely wonderful, and my son as well. And, people start asking because, we are in the public eye, like, where's TBone? He didn't go to Kansas this year. Why ain't you hunting here? People are starting to ask questions, and and I could see that it was getting rough for all my friends because they're asking Michael, Nick, my close friends, what's wrong with TBone? Why ain't done this? So I knew it eventually, you're going to have to tell somebody. And it's not that I'm ashamed of it or anything like that. But when we got to the end of the year, we knew it was time for amputation, but in order to do an operation, you have to have 6 weeks clear of chemo. You can't just quit chemo. I was in the hospital on Christmas Day, and we pulled off of chemo right there before the end of the year. And so now it's a waiting game. We set the surgery for February 7th. We're waiting for the chemo to clear so that you can have a good recovery, because the chemo can affect that. So, during that time, each day I was getting to feel a little bit more like myself. I wasn't so beat down and tired. And I said, just before surgery, I think it's going to be a good time to let everybody know it's going to. And I wanted to do a post. I hope nobody takes that as a sympathy, because, things can get misconstrued on social media about your intent of why you're posting something. But I wanted people to know, to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. And I wanted to make sure that I had a good description. If you can go back and look at that if you'd like to, but I wanted everybody to know exactly what was going on, because rumors will fly everywhere, almost like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off gone crazy, where, you hear, T-Bone's going to die in March or April. And I wanted there to be awareness, not necessarily, I expected a lot of love and a lot of thoughts and prayers coming back, but no way did I expect what everybody done. It's just an amazing group of folks, and it makes me, I've always been one to share, always smile, always try to be upbeat no matter what's going on, try to take the positive road. I've always been that type of person. I mean, everybody has poopy days, no matter what, but for the most part, I've always tried to be that way and treat people right, not burn bridges. And boy, that was just a reality check that, man, you know, for my 50-year-old butt, I've been doing things right. You know what I mean? I've been treating people right, and you get so much love back. You know?
Was unbelievable, the outpouring. I mean, everybody that you've come into, contact with over the years. And it was pretty heartwarming just as an outsider looking in to look at that, outpouring of love and say, okay, you got an army behind you here. And you were going through a lot of this on your own and relatively alone, but now, hey, the second phase of it, you got an army of people behind you to help root you on. And I'm sure the power of positivity and prayer for many folks that does affect your mentality in general. Like, all right, I got it. And you're a positive person anyways. So I'm sure that was pretty uplifting.
It is. And I've always been wired as a people pleaser, almost to a fault, meaning like if I'm in a group or in camp or whatever, it's more important to me that everybody else is happy and having a good time more so than me. It brings me down when someone else is having a bad time. So going through this, I'm like, I'll be okay. I spent more time like with my core people, even though, I felt really rough. I wanted to make sure like Waddell and it meant a lot to me to let those people know that things were okay. Everything was going okay. So, anyway, and it just continued that. It's just like, man, there's just so many, and it would be real easy for me to say, yeah, man, a lot of people commented and so many people texted and called and reached out and everything. And, sometimes you tell someone you love them or you say thoughts and prayers and there's not really no sincerity to it. Or you see that a lot, throughout social media but I can honestly tell you, I felt that. It felt sincere to me that people really felt that way. So that was really uplifting. Like you said, Matt, it was real positive and uplifting. So, and still is. It wasn't just a one day. It's like an ongoing saga. People, reaching out, how you doing? I get hundreds of texts every morning, inspirational things and people saying, hey, and I've tried to pride myself in, getting back to everybody and stuff like that. 'Cause it all means a lot to me, no matter who you are.
Yeah. And it's kind of tough when you're a selfless person, when you're a people pleaser, like you don't think of yourself as someone who really impacts people, and you probably have lesser of a view than others have. And sometimes it's tough when it takes something really serious to realize and TBone, you are one of the most beloved people in the outdoor space. It's incredible how much people love you. And it's like the post you had, the social post you had was very classy, was very like, I'm opening myself up here. Here's what's going on. I'm letting you on the inside. Didn't have to do it. It was a really classy thing to do. And I think it's almost, you gave people an opportunity to finally give back. Like, you've given so much to so many people and they feel almost like an indebtedness to you because of everything you've done. And it's nice to give people a chance to show how much they care. So I think you definitely did your due diligence and then some. And hopefully you kind of get the scope of how much people love and respect you.
Oh yeah. And it goes the same way. I feel the same way about those, all the people as well. And I think it's just good in this day and age, with all the things, between political stuff and, man, all the negative stuff you can get rutted in. I think it makes people, it makes me feel great. I honestly, but like you said, it makes those people feel, it brings the humanity back, and it strengthens, not to sound cliche, but the brotherhood of the outdoors and all of the, that goes with that. It's, there are no boundaries. It's like we are that like-minded person and stuff. So, I hated it took something like this, but it sure did feel good. And, but hey, we're over the hump now. We're minus the old leg. And, the first report, I'll share this with you guys. I hadn't shared it with nobody else, but fibrosarcoma doesn't act real well to chemo, but, and it's always to this day, they don't know which type of fibrosarcoma. They just narrowed it down from the 60 that there are to like, it's one of these 20. So we're going to try this type of chemo, and the the two oncologists, the surgical oncologist and the chemo oncologist, both were just giddy as all get out. This was Tuesday before last, about 10 days ago, say. They came in and said, look, here's the report. Once, they did a biopsy on my leg after they cut it off. And they said that 99.3% of all the cancer in my leg was dead, killed it all. So that the chemo was that successful. And they were actually stunned by that, which tells them that if the nodule that's in my left lung, it's tiny now, it went from a 9 to a 6, so it's about the size of your pinky fingernail. If that and people have nodules all the time, everybody has a nodule of some sort, but they got to look at it. They don't think it's cancer at all, but without doing a biopsy, they can't say it's not cancer. So I'm doing a CAT scan and stuff March 15th. But to let you know, if it is cancer in my lung and it was the same type that was in my leg, odds are that the chemo took care of it. Done.
Awesome.
So we should be good. Now that doesn't mean that I couldn't have some other type of cancer pop up in 3 months, and you never know. Nobody's guaranteed. I mean, you guys could come down with it next month. It just happens.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, now the focus is on recovery. I just got my staples out of my incision in my leg on Tuesday. We're waiting till Monday, and then now we're going to start forming my stump, so to speak, so that we can get fitted for a prosthetic. So it's just a waiting game right now. It's going to probably be another month and a half before I can do that. And because it's my right leg, I can't drive. So, I can't operate anything. And even before, I tried driving with my left foot, reaching over, and you've trained your brain for so many years to drive with your right foot. Man, that's tough. That was an accident waiting to happen. So I just got to wait till I get my prosthetic leg. And so many people, Wounded Warriors and stuff have reached out for support as far as, what you're going to be going through. And the biggest thing that I'm dealing with is not really pain with my incision, but it's called phantom pain. Like my foot, it is real. People was telling me about it, and I thought, yeah, I can see where you think but I can pinpoint within the size of a BB pain in my foot that ain't even there. And it's constant. It's just constant. Like there's constant pain, like someone poking a steak knife in your foot, or your foot will go to sleep. Like a lot of times I'll feel like my right foot is asleep, or I feel like I'm swinging it off a tailgate, and there is no leg there at all. Period. And I don't know how that works, but
is that due to the nerves and just kind of what the message that kind of goes from your brain down to your through the nerves, and it just, I guess there's nowhere for it to go or route to at that point, or like how does that? I wonder how that works.
Well, they explained it to me that it's not getting any feedback, meaning like, hey, there, we got an incision in your leg, and I'm fired. The brain fires off. Hey, let's check on the big toe. How's old big toe doing? And then it doesn't get any feedback. So there says it sends a hurting type feeling. It says like, warning, check your big toe. Warning, check your foot. And the people have told me that if you'll just rub your incision, like the nub, just touch, just barely just touch it, you'll give your brain some feedback, and you won't have those. And it worked.
Wow.
And they even said to look in a mirror and rub your good leg. Like when you're having pain, if you'll rub your good leg, and your brain will see that you're touching your good leg, and it'll tell your brain not to send those signals. Everything's fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long do the phantom, those phantom feelings happen? Is there a general timeline that they have for you? Like how long that continues?
They said it'd probably get a little better, but a lot of the guys that, first hand have told me, they said they don't go away. You feel some sort of, ghost pain, or feel like your foot's still there your whole life.
Wow.
So there's been a lot of times I've gotten up out of bed, I got to get in a walker and go to a porta potty or go to the bathroom, and I'll get up and you really got to think hard. Like I'll try to take a step with my right foot, and there's no leg there. You're going to fall over. You take it for granted how standing on two legs it can be so good balance wise. So yeah.
What's next? Like I'm sure you're rehabbing. Well, I've seen the social posts and stuff. You've rehabbed, and I'm sure that continues on and will for a while, especially once you get fitted for the prosthetic and learn how to walk with that. And what's next for you in general?
Basically that's it. I had like 10 days of rehab. According to them, I did real good. As far as learning, and I guess I got that, build a better mousetrap engineer type of mind. Me and my buddy Brian, I've built a ramp. I haven't, but they built a ramp for me on the back of the house. We're trying to get things fitted. My wife has an Equinox car, and I wanted to ride in my truck. I got a truck, but it's so it's not jacked up. It's just standard trucks today are a little higher. If I can get my butt cheek on it, I can get on it. So we devised a wooden block, so I pull up to it on the wheelchair, stand up on the wooden block, and then that jacks me up, then I can get in the truck. So we're just devising things. Like actually today I'm gonna go I'm gonna ride the four-wheeler, so I'm going shed hunting on the four-wheeler.
There you go.
Yeah, so I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm good spirits and patient as Joe, but I'm tired of staring at the four walls. I got to get out some. So, but I'm doing good. To answer your question though, Matt, that's what we're doing. It's a waiting game, meaning like I got to be careful. I can't do too much on this incision, even though it's healed. Staples are out. It needs to heal more. We're going to start shaping it. It's going to take about a month. Then we'll start trying a prosthetic, and then hopefully I can get a little. I'll be a little more free with a prosthetic once I get it. But in the meantime, I'm hobbling with a walker some. And see, I went in with the rehab. I'm like, I'm fixing to pull a Rocky Balboa. I went in there. I'm like, I'm fixing to show these folks, I'm a big guy, but I got a little bit of strength to them. I was getting ready to work out, show them and everything. They said, just pump the brakes, bud, because this is the mindset you need to have. We appreciate your eagerness and your positive, but you got to save what you got. Meaning, like, if you're trying to do box jumps up onto 8-inch boxes and trying to jump upstairs at your size and age, you blow your knee out, your good knee or your ankle, then you're down for good. So you got to conserve what you do have good. You can't blow your shoulders out. You got to, be, and I'm like, that makes perfect sense. So, and I had another eye-opening experience Tuesday when we got my staples out. We were leaving, and I was getting up in the truck, and the stool that I was on to get up on the box to get in the truck, we was in Atlanta. It was on. It had metal feet on it, and it was on brick pavers, and it slid right out from underneath me, and down I went because I wasn't grabbing onto anything. Oof. Or I didn't have my foot planted. So splat, I'm out there in the parking lot in the valet line at the hospital, and then it was a reality check. It's like, I can't roll over on my knees because I can't compromise my knee. Yeah. So we had to have 4 or 5 folks, and we got stood back up, and luckily I didn't damage my knee or anything.
And that stuff, it's like you said, the reality check of you have a big heart. You said, I'm a big guy. You got a bigger heart, and you got the mindset, but the reality is, like, there are limitations, right? And so it's a matter of learning your limitations and not going too fast to something or taking your time. And I'm sure that's just going to be any man, you're just like, I got it. But that's something that I'm sure just takes a little bit to say, you know what? All right, I got to take my time, or I might need a little help, with this or that or the other. And it's just is what it is.
That very thing happened. Go ahead, TBone. Sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with you. I'm just, that's exactly right. It's just a learning curve, and learning to be okay with saying, you know what, I need a little help right here, or something like that. So, close friends have been amazing with that. I'm just trying to be patient and waiting for the prosthetic. And I know life's going to be different from now on, but that doesn't mean that there ain't,
it's not over.
Focus, if I'm in a skid steer, if I can get on a tractor, if I can get in a blind or crawl up in a hunting blind, or I know I can still shoot a bow. So, I'm not asking like, man, I'm never going to get to go, do that moose hunt or anything like that. I'm okay with that. If it's the simple things, it's just the passionate things. If I can do that, man, life's going to be good.
Yeah. What have you been looking at as far as spring turkeys? Is that a possibility for you right now?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to say that I'm going to be as mad at him as Waddell is and do all the reaping and walking miles and miles and all, but definitely a ground blind, in some strut zones on some food plots and stuff like that, absolutely. I mean, I can sit in a blind with the best of them.
And the reality is, with the way like electric vehicles, that you could get something where it can get you around pretty quietly and under the cover of darkness, like you said, get set up in a ground blind and somebody get a decoy out there, still very lethal, so that's the good part.
Yeah, no, but between electric vehicles, side by sides, even a 4-wheeler, if you put in there, or, the folks from Track Chairs already reached out to me, and we've even talked about that. But I'd like to think that, I mean, don't get me wrong, if that's what it comes to, that's what it comes to. But I'm hoping the prosthetic leg works out pretty good. I know that there are some issues with prosthetic legs, that especially the type I'm going to have. It's a cup that goes over your stump. So you're limited at how far you can walk just because of rubbing blisters on there. And if you can't have blisters, you can't have infections on there. So, you can only go a couple 300 yards, something like that at a time. So you don't want to rub a blister. So, but hey, that's enough. That's enough. Certainly that's enough.
Yeah. And I'm sure, there's, like you said, the different kind of chairs, the technology in general, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, there's so many ways to get people outdoors, and you've been a champion of the outdoors for so long. I mean, I think about all the Whitetails Unlimited banquets you've done in the past, and all the, events that bone collectors in general do, and the way you guys give back, and kind of, I always say, I've said it for years, you guys are like going on tour, the amount of people that you've met and lives you've touched. Like, now it's a chance for, people to kind of give back and help out where you might need help, and all that goodwill kind of comes back at you. And you saw it, of course, with the way social media and the love, but that's not just, I don't think it's just people flexing on social media and trying to be in the moment either. I feel like there's a genuine love for you that, if there's a need out there, or if there's something you can do, or, somebody's going to help you where they can help you. But the other way to look at it is, now you're a new advocate. You've been an advocate for hunting for so long. Now you're a new advocate for, quote unquote, disabled folks. And, the attitude that you have is, I can do anything that I used to do. Maybe not to the extent, but I'm going to still go do the things I love to do. And that's a very powerful message for a lot of people that might not have the same heart or will or desire, but they see you do it, and it's like, you know what? All right, I'm going to try it, and that's pretty powerful.
Certainly. Yeah. And, I mean, I'm just going to be me. And, it's certainly a blessing that, hopefully it will, help somebody to maybe inspire them to do something as the same. Because, man, you think about, I say this 1,000 times, and we all think this, but no matter how bad you got it, somebody's got it worse. Somebody has always got it worse. And then in the scheme of things, thinking of me, because that's all I can control, I have no reason to bitch about anything. Because if I don't kill another cockroach in my life, I have honestly way outlived my dreams. When I was an 18, 19-year-old boy that didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, I have been blessed beyond, and I'm saying this long before any cancer come in. I feel that way. And honestly, me and Waddell talk about it all the time about plan B, meaning like, they're probably going to cancel our show next year. And hopefully somebody will hire me to fletch some arrows. And Waddell's like, yeah, maybe. I guess I can hang some sheetrock with Dad, building a few houses. I think it's good that people have that mentality and stuff. So, man, I am so blessed. And if you wake up every day knowing that, man, you've had a blessed life, and then it's so short. You think that living 70, 80, 90 years is long. It ain't that long at all. So pursue your passions, be extremely happy, and count your blessings. Lord, like I said, I'm going to still do things because I love to do them. But like I just said, I'm reiterating what I just said. If I don't kill another cockroach, I've way outlived my dreams. I'm so blessed.
One of the amazing things to me in this entire story is this started with a tick bite, and you did something that a lot of guys in particular, are not great about: seeing their doctors, getting things checked on. Oh, it'll fix itself. But you were you were dogged on it. Like you stayed on it, you stayed on top of it, and who knows where it could have gone had you not been proactive with it.
May saved his life.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. I guess I got diagnosed with alpha-gal syndrome back in April, which the Lone Star tick, if you get bit by that, you can't eat red meat. You can't commercialized red meat. There's a lot of forums that say you can't eat any red meat, but I think there's different. Honestly, when I got diagnosed, it was strong. My numbers were really strong, and my doctor said, you got it. You don't need to eat no more red meat, fish and chicken, and you can eat deer and elk, and that's it.
Wow.
So I did that for 3 months. I did that for 3 months, which led up to July. So I was already focused in on ticks. I'm like, no offense, those bastards. Those damn ticks are bastards.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I can't even eat a hamburger anymore, and anything like that. But I tried it, and I don't have any symptoms show up. A lot of people eat it, they get deathly sick, but I think I'm asymptomatic, meaning I'm a carrier of it. Actually, they tested me this fall. I still have alpha-gal syndrome, but I can eat a steak. It doesn't bother me. At this point in time, I can eat red meat and it doesn't bother me, but I am a carrier of the alpha-gal syndrome. So I was kind of tuned in on ticks and how crappy they are. But anyway, and that's from the Lone Star tick, mainly in the southeast. But my doctor was telling me that just about everybody that works for the power company or anything like that comes into his office, 50% of the people are alpha-gal. We're seeing an outbreak like no other down here in the southeast.
Huh. Do you guys use Permanone when you go out in the woods?
Not as much as we should. Off season and stuff. Probably should use it during hunting, but how we're all trying to stay scent free or what have you, so we don't normally use it. But in the spring, turkey hunting and shed hunting when you can remember, but not as much as we should, because it's kind of catch-22. It's like, man, this stuff's probably causing cancer, and I'm spraying on my boots and my my leggings and things like that, and it's getting on my skin, even though you're not supposed to put it on your skin. Do I avoid a tick, or do I just inundate myself with all kinds of chemicals that potentially could be harmful down the road? So it's like, what do you do,
Yeah. Is there for those ticks, is it like, how long are they dormant down there? Because I know, like, Dad's farm manager, he's been shed hunting, and they were over in Illinois, and he already found a tick, and it's been pretty cool, minus the last few days here. It's been pretty cold the last couple months. It's like, all right, do they go dormant down in the southeast when it's relatively warm all year round?
No, I don't think they do. There are some times that that you may not see them, but we find ticks all the time. You may not see as many. They may slow down a little bit, but to say that it's like, hey, you're safe to go out, there's no ticks in the month of January. No, my buddy Brian, he found 2 on him yesterday. No, they're here, man.
Every time I see someone sling a deer up over their shoulders and walk out of the woods like He-Man, I'm just thinking, all those ticks are jumping ship off that dead body, and they are on your shoulders. Yeah. Gross.
I think there's some people's DNA or blood type or something that attracts them more than others, because I've noticed a lot of people, but we call them seed ticks or small deer ticks. I see some people that just we can be side by side and they're infested with them, and I might have 3 on me, but yet they have 40 on them.
Yeah.
Same thing with mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think mosquitoes are the same way, because I really don't get bothered by mosquitoes too much. I do get bit, but like my son, it's like he's got grape jelly all over him there.
Poor guy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Come fishing with me, son. You stand right there. I'll stand right here.
All right. Well, T-Bone, we want to. So on the podcast, we answer a question from a fan submitted question every day. You got a little bit more time for us?
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do it here. The question of the day is probably brought to you by Sportsman's Channel, your home for Winchester and Drury's natural born and everything red, wild, and blue. This is from Cole.
So I'm 12. I'm still trying to get my first deer. What should I go for? A buck or a doe? Or the first thing that walks in front of me?
All right, T-Bone, you got a tough one here today. What should we do with poor Cole here?
that's absolutely simple. For 12 years old, I know if I put myself in his shoes when I was 12 years old, I'm like, first one that comes out, if it's legal to shoot it, let it have it, son. Taste some blood, get one under your belt. Don't feel like because you're watching TV and the entertainment you see on TV that you have to live up to those standards, man. If it's legal and it trips your trigger, we're all for patting you on the back, man. You kill a slick head and we'll throw you on our shoulders and parade you around town. So you help fill the freezer for your family and you just enjoy that first kill, buddy.
Well said.
Ditto.
And that's the funny thing. It's like if you mentioned TV, it's like the guys that are killing and gals that are killing these big deer, they all started somewhere. And I know we got some video covers of Mark and Terry with 100 inchers that were cover bucks, from the early 90s. And hell, I hunted, I think it was 15 till I killed my first deer, and I would have loved to have shot a doe. We couldn't get one in front of me. So it's definitely a matter of, hey, if it's legal and it's in front of you and you have a good ethical shot, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. And there's actually, I think you can do some harm if you are young and shoot a really big deer. Like it changes your mindset, I think, as a kid in terms of what you expect. And then like maybe next year you shoot a smaller buck and you're ashamed of it or something. Just all those kind of negatives
don't need to be a part of hunting.
Exactly. Yeah. Just shoot what makes you happy.
That's right.
As long as it's legal.
Yeah, like you said, if you kill a big buck when you're really, really young, it's like your first football game's a Super Bowl. Where do we go from here? But, if you take it in stride, and just understand that it was luck is a big thing that's involved with it, with hunting. And, you can't watch, it's almost like watching football on TV. It's like, well, you know what? I can't throw the ball 60 yards like Brady and hit somebody that good, so I'm not even going to play football. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You can't think that way. I mean, you're watching it because you're watching hunting shows because it's the ultimate of outdoor entertainment. You just got to look at it that way. It's not like these guys that we are on TV are pro hunters, which I hate that.
Yeah.
We're just outdoor entertainers. We're just bringing you. Surely we should be able to kill bigger deer because we're spending way more time in the woods. Who are we to tell a 12-year-old that's only probably getting to hunt 1, maybe 2 days a week during the small season, if that.
Yeah.
To not, you got to hold out for a 12-pointer, dude. No, I ain't doing that.
Yeah,
that don't be.
I referenced that deer that my son named General Sausage. He's a young 3, might be 2.5, 3-year-old buck. And, I thought to myself, because the farm I just purchased, it doesn't have a lot on it right now. It just kind of was mismanaged the last few years, but it's got great potential. And I thought to myself, like, hey, if he actually wants to go hunt, if he wants to go hunt this year, like anything's on the table.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Anything's on the table. I always kind of cringe when I see some kids out there, they want to hold out, and they're very much a part of like hunting with their mom or dad and the management, and they get it and they want to hold out. But I don't know, man. I always kind of cringe when I see it because it's just like, is it ruining it for them? And it's, you hear dads a lot of the time say, hey, it's your choice. Shoot whatever you want.
Right.
And you'll hear a kid say, I think I want a bigger one. And I always hate it because that's something that they've learned by probably watching a lot of this stuff in social media and TV, and we're obviously a part of that. And it's just like, man, no, just shoot it. Shoot whatever makes you happy. So I think about that often. It's like, all right, whenever Cameron's ready, let it have it, whatever it is.
Well, sorry, go ahead, TBone.
No, I just was saying, yeah, you're exactly right. I was going to say while I'm thinking about it, congratulations on that farm. What little bit I've seen of it, what you posted, it looks like a heaven, so to speak. So so congratulations.
Thank you. That's the interesting part about owning your own dirt. It could be, this particular piece is 102 acres. It could have been 2 acres and it would have been heaven, right? Because it's mine.
Absolutely.
So.
Yep.
Well, let's hop into our wildlife word.
All right. T-Bone, just be prepared because your mind's about to be blown by Tim's wildlife word of the day.
Batten down the hatches. The wildlife word is brought to you by Tracker Off-Road. Clean and silent with plenty of power and no exhaust. Get your gobbler this spring with the stealth of an all-electric Tracker EV unit.
Woo-wee.
When a species is sexually dimorphous...
Uh-oh.
Careful, Matt. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Sexually dimorphous? Does it mean A, that males and females are indistinguishable from each other? Or B, that males and females look markedly different from one another? Or C, a species' breeding behaviors are disgusting and observe no standards? Or D, you're not old enough to understand yet?
I think D. T-Bone, what do you got here?
Golly, I answered the other one. I was going to let you answer this one, Matt.
Well, we can do that. I think it's A. A male and female are indistinguishable from each other.
Okay.
What is
So
it?
Matt's going A. It's B.
Dang it.
That males and females look markedly different, for like a mallard. You know, like the male is very different looking than a female.
Well, thanks for making me look stupid, Tim.
My job here is done.
Yeah. I knew that. It was B. I knew it.
Yeah.
That's why I always let the guests go first, because I always say,
Yeah.
I knew it.
No. Yeah. He stole your bit.
That's right.
T-Bone.
I'll let him slide, I guess.
Well, we got some new Rack Pack members.
All right. Well, T-Bone, so we got this private Facebook group called the Rack Pack. Terry named it. And it's just basically people that listen to the podcast and enjoy a good time, you know, talking about hunting, you know, talking about their experiences outdoors. You just go to Facebook, you type in Dre Outdoors, 100% Wild.
I wanted to name it the Bone Collectors, and for some reason it wasn't going to fly.
It was trademarked. So anyways, we always give a shout out to the new members each podcast, and Tim always throws in a fake name. I have to butcher a name to figure out which one it is. So we got Ralph Reynolds, Lucas Ho, Andrew Bennett. That's not the fake one because I know him. Tommy Perry, Bing Dinglesworth, Will Bowen, Forest Creek Podcast. I'm going to go with Bing Dinglesworth as the fake name.
Me too.
It was Andrew Bennett.
Ah, shit.
No one's ever had that name.
Other than
Sorry,
the
Andrew.
guy I know.
I think he spells it differently. I think he's got 3 N's.
Okay. All right.
And then Nathan Jackwin, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, over on Apple Podcasts, gave us 5 stars, and he says, knife op.
This is an inside joke. It stands for Not Your Favorite Outdoor Podcast, which we carry that badge quite proudly.
With pride. Yeah. He says, I can't stress enough that this is not your favorite outdoor podcast. Don't listen to it. You will become addicted to it, and you'll be begging Matt and Tim for more episodes. Again, this is not your favorite outdoor podcast.
So Nathan's trying to keep it the best kept secret
Seems like
in
he's
outdoors.
trying to pull, like a Jedi mind
It's
trick.
the opposite of Michael Waddell's podcast.
Where people listen to it.
Exactly.
Imagine that.
All right. Well, T-Bone, do you have any parting messages for those that are still listening?
Man, I just thanks for all the outpouring. I mean, you know, if you follow me on social media, you know, I definitely try to read each comment. I thank you so much for everybody's continued support, prayers, and thoughts, because I certainly can feel them. And hey, we're just being patient over here. You know, it's going to be an interesting next month or two, and then certainly over the next 6 months. But I kind of look at it like this: if we're going to do this, it's the perfect time to do it and be geared up, ready to roll August, September, and, you know, get my legs back under me, so to speak.
Love it. Well, I know you got, like I said, an army of people behind you, man. We love you, and that's a real we love you. Nobody better in the industry, and anything you need from us, you know you got it.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you guys, and appreciate everybody reaching out. You know, everybody says, hey, I don't want to bother you, but you got problems when nobody wants to talk to you. So I never feel like nobody can reach out and say, hey, and stuff. It's always uplifting. So thanks again to everybody, and appreciate you guys having me on. Always, y'all keep up the great work. Y'all are doing a fantastic job over there.
We appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your story with us.
No, not a problem at all.
All right, everyone.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it.
All right. Until next time, count your blessings. Peace out.
T-Bone.
Temperatures are going to be dropping. Perfect conditions for the skinny field. Got to focus on those afternoon hunts. Northwest Tree Stand, 5 p.m.
It's the easiest decision you'll make this season. Get ahead of your game with DeerCast.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV was brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's.